Alright kids, so now that we start with science class again, let me tell you something kids, which is very, very important. We were talking about these big, huge, enormous glaciers, and we discovered that, according to the book, that these glaciers, are constantly moving and they flow, like rivers. And let me tell you something kids, these glaciers, unfortunately, these times, they are having a very bad process, which they are melting kids. These glaciers are melting, and do you know why? One of the problems and the cause that these huge glaciers are melting is because of the global warming. Okay, the global warming kids, which is, everywhere, is affecting us. These times, kids, and all this is because of the pollution, contamination, from, the main person or the main, important, well, I wouldn't say important, but the main reason that all this is happening, kids. And do you know why? It's because of the human beings, kids. Unfortunately, we are, all of us, we are, in a certain way, we are polluting our home, our planet Earth. And that's why all these problems are happening right now. And one of these is the very serious situation in the Antarctic and in the Arctic, that all these beautiful glaciers are melting, and it's because of the pollution, kids. Do you remember last English class, I explained to you about pollution and all these consequences. And this also affects these huge glaciers, these huge, beautiful glaciers, and that's why they are melting. Maybe in many years' time, in the future, we won't be able to see them, kids. Well, but right now we only have to hope that things, get better, and that humans can, have more conscious about this. Okay, kids, let's continue. Alright, kids, so let's continue with this. Everybody goes to page 374 and 375. Okay, on this part here. Can waves cut caves? The waves of the ocean, of the sea, can cut caves? Yes, they can. Because waves like the wind, are very strong, kids. And they're so powerful. And they can do it too. Alright, but they don't do it at once. It takes time. It takes time. It can take days, months, years to cut a cave. That is because of the constant flow on the wave of the waves on the same place. So they can perfectly do it. But they won't do it at once. It will take time. Okay, but let's find out on here. Okay, so let's start, kids. Can waves cut caves? Water carries dirt down the drain when you wash your hands. It also carries rock and sediment down a river or along a shoreline. Active reading. Moving water causes weathering and erosion. A flowing river picks up sediment along its path. The rushing sediment scrapes against the bottom and sides of the riverbed. This weathers the material along the river's path. Even more, river water can carve deep canyons. A canyon is a gorge between cliffs of rocks. Deposit of sediment can build up and force river water to change directions. Curves in a river's path change it over time and produce different landforms. So, look at the picture, kids. Arizona, United States. The Colorado River slowly carved the Grand Canyon. This process occurred over millions of years. Okay, kids, like I said to you, this process, in Arizona, United States, the Colorado River slowly carved the Grand Canyon, and this took millions of years. Like I told you kids before, it takes time. Like I said to you, it could take days, months, years, like this, million years. Okay, so now continuing on page 375, look at these two pictures, kids. As a river gets older, its curves may change. The banks become less steep, and the distance across get wider. A sea arc forms when waves erode a cave all the way through a narrow cliff. Ocean waves crash forcefully into rocks along the shore. The waves weather cliffs, erode away pieces of broken rock, and deposit the sediment in new places. Waves can cut caves into shoreline cliffs. The sediment from eroding shorelines becomes fine particles of sand. Beaches form where the sand is deposited at the water's edge. So look at this, washed away by water. the Grand Canyon. Okay, kids, on this part here, so after reading, okay, there is something that you had to fill in the blanks here on this part. Okay, there is these four squares. All right, write how water caused these landforms. Explain how the two causes differed. Okay, on the sea arc and on the canyon. What happened to this? Okay, on this one and on this. How did they form? What was the form? How was the way they changed it? What happened on this? All the information is here, kids. Okay. Now, continuing on page 376 and 377, why it matters. Do plants protect soil? The Great Plains of the United States can be a very dry, windy area. Grasses that naturally grow there keep moisture in the soil. Their roots hold the soil in place. Great Plains. Now, in the early 1900s, many families made their living in the Central Plains by farming. They deeply plowed hundreds of thousands of square kilometers of land where natural grasses had grown before. In between crop seasons, fields of loose soil were left exposed to the wind. During the 1930s, the plains experienced several severe drought. The bare soil turned to fine, dry dust. Then the high winds blew the soil away in gigantic dust storms. Clouds of dust traveled as far as New England and even out over the Atlantic Ocean. Dust fell like snow. Wow, it should have been very, very, very strong. Look at the picture, the black and white picture, kids. This is dust, but it was so thick, this dust storm, that they look like snow. A dust storm can travel up to 120 kilometers an hour, 75 miles per hour. Okay, kids, on the second page, 377. New farmers plant different crops at different times to keep soil covered year-round. In jars and small fields, fence rows and lines of trees break the wind. Adding plants to hillsides protect soil from water erosion, as well as from wind. These dust storms occurred regularly for years. Wind erosion stripped away much of the soil that had made the region good for farming. Families had to move away and find other ways to survive. Many starved and suffered terrible hard times. That region of the country became known as the Dust Bowl. It taught a valuable lesson about erosion problems caused by removing all the plants from an area. So now look at the drawing, kids. Add to the drawing to show what you could do to prevent erosion. Explain what you drew. Okay, what can you draw here, kids, in order to protect the soil against erosion? And explain your drawing, what you drew, okay? Okay, kids, on this one here, on these 2 pages, we talk about dust storms, okay? These powerful, storms made by dust, that they can, they can travel in the air, and they can travel for many kilometers, okay? So like I told you in the book, and kids, right now, during this time of the year, there is a very particular phenomenon, kids, which is called the dust of the desert, or the desert dust, which comes from, do you know where? Kids, think a little bit. Yes, this dust comes from very far. It comes from the Sahara Desert, kids. And it's a phenomenon that happens a certain time of the year. Okay, this dust from the Sahara Desert travels from there and travels all the ocean and comes to this area, comes to America, kids, comes to Central America, to parts of North America like Mexico, and some parts of South America too. Imagine. So in all this dust from the Sahara Desert is travels like we just explained right now, through dust storms that travel, and they're very strong. Okay, kids, now after this, okay, alright, don't forget about this. I told you about the Sahara Desert dust, okay? So, okay, remember this. Okay, now kids, after this, let me tell you something. We're finished! Yes, kids, we finished class, alright? And after this, we go to pages 378 and 379. What's that? Zoom it up and brain check, okay? So, you know what to do? Okay, alright. complete this part, kids. Fill in the blanks. And there is the puzzle and the words. You can put in here, alright? So, and after this, okay, apply concepts, this part, kids. You know what to do. And then, after this, okay, on pages 380 and 381, too. Okay, and then 382. This one here, okay? So, alright. And there is a very important information at the end of this, on page 383. Extreme weather gear. This part, kids. This is a very interesting information, kids. Alright. And let's read what it is. Okay, as you can see, kids, on the picture, extreme weather gear. To survive in extreme cold, people need special clothing. Layers that serve different purposes provide the protection, but the layers can't be too bulky or the weather won't be able to move around easily, or they can also be heavy too. So look at this. Look at the men's weather gear. We have the headwear, okay? As you can see, it says it's a coat, a hoodie coat, and we see the down coat, the mittens or gloves. Then we have the down pants and the insulate boots. All this clothing, kids, is very special, made for very extreme cold weather. Look at the boots. Boots need to be waterproof, warm and lightweight. Your feet are far from your heart, so it's harder for warm blood to keep them warm. So gear for hands and feet must be very effective. Now, the fabric of this coat, the fabric's outer layer keeps out water and wind. Inner layers provide insulation and help keep the body dry. Think about it. Keeping warm is important, but so is keeping dry. Clothing that causes a person to sweat can be dangerous. Wet skin can chill quickly. How could extreme weather clothing be designed to prevent that? Okay. Now, kids, on this part, so look at this. This is, for example, very special clothing for extreme cold weather, like I told you. Also, for example, mountaineers. Kids, mountaineers, people who, climb in high mountains, especially, very high, from starting from 5,000 meters to 6,000 meters, and even 8,000 meter, kids. They need to wear special clothing for this. It's very extreme sport. So like I told you before, in other cases, kids, I'm a mountaineer, and I do climb mountains and volcanoes, and I also hike volcanoes too. I have already done more than 5,000 meters, By the way, it was in Cusco, So that's the place where I did my first mountain, which was more than 5,000 meters above sea level. And it was very cold. So in these areas, you had to wear very special clothes, like the one we just read and saw in the book. Okay, kids, now, after this, okay, we finished class. Okay, and, alright, remember, kids, this coming Friday, we are going to have, the Zoom class. And also, I will put on Classroom, Google Classroom, the Parcial, the Science Parcial, okay? So I hope you're studying, kids. It's going to be very easy. Remember, all the information and the study, the content for this Parcial is from the book before, the glossary, okay? So no problem with that, alright? So, okay, kids, so, well, thank you very much. See you during this week, or you see me, and we're going to continue with English class. Yeah! Alright, the whole week, kids. Alright, bye. Zoom out.